Yeah, hello, yeah, can you please help me with this video?
I don't know. Do I?
Come on, Isadora, we've been rehearsing this for weeks. Can't you actually help me out?
I don't know. I don't know if I even want to. How much money do I make?
You make enough money, I promise.
But you better deliver. If not, then I will be very annoyed and perhaps even assault you.
Yes, fine, whatever. Hi guys, what you are about to see in this very next episode of SNESgeek is going to be the longest review I've ever done. And yes, this time I really mean it. I will also have a colleague helping out, known as Isadora. Well, sort of. You'll see what I mean. What's this? Toy Story 3 for the PlayStation 2. Where did this come from? What? Who's that? I heard someone from here. Hello? Who's that? Isadora? You want me to talk about the game I just got? Well, okay, I'll do it. Well, maybe you can help me out? Right. Well, I guess it's time, by demand, to review Toy Story 3 for the PlayStation 2. Let's go! Oh, it's all coming back to me now. Look at this intro. It's stunning, it's well composed, and the music is a pretty nostalgic vibe. It's so classy. Anyway, this game shows the movie in a different perspective. It has already happened. It's playtime for Bonnie and she grabs the toys and head out. That's the only appearance she makes. Then you're forced under the bed for the actual game to begin, told by Rex. This level is the very first, known as Western Playtime, with the predictable story that a train is speeding up without the brake. It's going to fall down, killing all of the orphans if it's not taken care of. So it's up to Woody to catch the brakes.
Wait, is this game based on one of the best games of all time? Or Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue, the Dreamcast game? Wait, is...
Well, firstly, I don't know where you came from. Secondly, that one was released on Game Boy Color, PS1, PC and Dreamcast.
that many platforms? How did people know what they wanted?
Well, they wanted the game on whatever platform they had, of course, not stop focusing on that game and focus on this one instead. So this is a basic tutorial. You learn everything you need to know, how to attack, how to climb, how to jump, the whole 9 yards. So the main antagonist is none other than Dr. Porkchop, who will appear later on. Along the way you collect stars for a 100% completion, which I'll talk about later. Yeah, there's no story progression, it's just a simple level to teach you how the game works. There's nothing wrong with that.
Wait, so it's just a simple platformer, like the PS1 game Bad Wars? No shooty action?
Not really. There are a couple of things that happens, mostly for the lack of a genuine threat. There are aliens who catches you in their car and let you travel safely to the next car. There is the burning coal, which burns on the spot and nowhere else, amongst other things happening. Honestly, not a bad level. I may say it's a pointless level for the story, but a great tutorial level nonetheless. It's at level 2 where the story is established. Operation Cell Phone. It's time to get this cell phone from downstairs to upstairs. And since this is an operation, the military is the best choice. Introduce it the next gameplay mechanic, going undercover. Something you will be forced to do, but because humans are so terrifying to meet, you have to get into the vent by climbing through into it in this room. The vent sections will appear every once in a while in plenty of levels. They mostly consist of the same idea, with only enemies being busted pipes which are steaming, so waiting for them to fizzle out is the best idea. There are also some environmental hazards, such as floorboards and vents in the walls spewing out hot steam. But do you know there's something special right now? There are no moving enemies or assaulting adversaries, and yet there are still ways to be attacked. There is no health bar or lives either. I just love whenever the environment itself is the enemy. It's just a very wholesome feeling I get. Now I'm finally out of the vents. Now let's move on to this section where Andy's mother is vacuuming the floor on a loop and she will never stop. So watch the symbol in the corner and go to the next spot because time is of the essence. In other words, Metal Gear Toy Soldiers. If you get caught, the soldiers will be vacuumed right up and you have to restart from the beginning. After that, it is a simple parachuting session to get down to the safely to the phone. You cannot get to the bottom in any other way. And then the mission is over. Let's proceed to the next one.
Then Buzz saw a box going to Sunnyside Daycare and decided to find us all so we could hide in the box and get donated.
The next level is about Buzz needing to retrieve his friends after they escaped getting thrown out by Rex's tail. But of course Andy's mother, who is a dumbass for throwing down in the attic. So it's a fetch quest. Go around this level to find all 6 of them to beat the level. Now it's not a linear path, it's a free roamer. You are left to your own devices to find all the different ways to go wherever. How the others got around to it, I don't know, but whatever. So this is the first level where you can go wherever you want. But with only 2 rooms, it's not the largest level to explore. So the main hub consists of 5 puzzles. On plenty of them it's just 1, 2, 3 to solve them, but it is still some thought put into the whole thing. I know I said it before, but this level has another function included.
Another function? Were they really that desperate to include a new one on every level? Why not just pick like 3 and make them as great as possible? The more cooks, the worse your soup, after all. Another function?
Well, to be fair, it's not like that. None of these guys are too different for one another. They aren't really derivative of each other. Think of it like the same food from different brands. Anyway, let's head into the kitchen where Rex is located, somehow at the top of his shelf. To get up there, a toaster had to be used as a springboard and a blend to create platforms across the sink. But how heavy is Buzz anyway? The bread was able to carry him all the way up. The lid didn't even twitch. Well, at least the oven, who can cause burn, is active. Aside from these remarks, the interior and design are pretty good, one of my favorite thus far. The next task is about climbing on another shelf with some genuine enemies, like this bowling ball. It reminds me of something. On every level, a trophy can be obtained by performing a special task not shown in the slightest. You have to guess really. I turned on the car light and the task is complete. Neither of these really challenged me. Sure, some of them were a bit more annoying, but that was my mistake and not because of the design itself. Just to point it out. If you find the last toy, the level ends without the way for you to collect the remaining stuff. So don't do it before it's over. Anyway, all of the toys have been found and level 4 is up next. So this one is all about Woody needing to get down to the basement after realizing the mistake Andy's mom had made, which means travel through almost the entire house. The setup is just strange. Why not go through the kitchen door anyway? Well, good point. So the first thing to do is to get downstairs to the living room. And of course you do that by using the vacuum cleaner. Now the weirdest scene happened. Woody looks at the door after getting into position upon reaching the bottom floor. I know it doesn't matter, it just feels so off. So anyway, next up is about turning on the television TV so Andy's mom can get in, so that you can escape to a different area. But don't worry about the whereabouts, just admire this set. You will go up to the higher levels by standing on a small circle on the floor. Just stand on them and push circle to get to a higher level. But there can be issues with the camera. It swings around at times, but thankfully it's not a massive problem, just an annoyance. Especially when it's too close up, spinning around like crazy. If it wasn't for the open space, this game we all see would be far more annoying. Well, maybe Andy's mom is just having a tough time moving on from her boy. After all, seeing your kid grow up can make you really emotional. like my mom. Some people just take longer to accept that, and that's nothing to worry about. Well, maybe so, but I don't mind it. I actually kinda like it. It creates an atmosphere modern furniture cannot replicate. It just looks like a cozy retirement home with a modern touch. With that being said, it wouldn't hurt if someone actually had the remote control. Oh wait, it does. After the TV has been turned on and his mom comes into the room with the controller, turns it off and just looks around. And then another stealth section happens. And after the stealth section is over, the door to the dining room gets closed. Once again, why are there 5 bowls with soup? Even with all of the family members in this house, it counts up to 3, not 5. Well, I don't really know why. Upon reaching the upper levels with this drawer, it's time for some destruction by swinging in the ceiling. And this mom must be freaking out right now when hearing these spells or whatever it is slamming down on the floor, leaving big mark. It's like they were made for Woody to get up on. And they were so good of keeping the grounded nature of this game so well. So after another trip through the vent, Woody comes through on top of the house, and after a chase with another ball and the last amount of climbing, Woody comes down to the other toys and tries to convince them to go off to Andy's room. It is time for level 5. It's now been realized how terrible of a place Sunnyside Daycare is, and is shown by how violently the other toys are being played with. Buzz will now have to save them. If you expect a tough survival of the fittest with lots of things happening at the same time, you will be severely disappointed. It's basically a level structure. Go from place to perform a mission to set them free. Is it boring? If removing immersion to justify gameplay would happen, I wouldn't be as happy with that decision. It's the immersion being kept, which in turn makes me interested to play. So it's basically split up into several segments, aka levels. I go through each and every one of them and judge them on how the solution works. Thank goodness vents exist. It is the only method for Buzz to travel anywhere around here. Yeah, just realized that. This game really loves vents. So this first part is to turn on the mobile in the ceiling to save aliens from death. So now climbing on top of shelves or bouncing on boxes is key. So this is the level which could be really challenging if the programmers just made it more like a stealth mission, avoid the kids and such. But no, it's all about staying on top of shelves. I would say they can just look up, but of course they're children. They're small, they can spend hours doing one thing, so I let it slide. While climbing on top of the shelf isn't anything new, these vents do pose a challenge. Not challenging in that sense, but more does happen. It's about jumping on springs, climbing on water pipes, and all that jazz, set to this orchestral score, all with Buzz's glowing in the dark feature. Speaking of which, let's talk about the music. It's very good and features a lot of catchy tunes, with a lot of violins, trombones, xylophones. It really does give you a very cozy feeling, like you listen to the soundtrack when in an elevator, and is able to relax thanks to it. But why are there so many burst pipes around? Why are they breaking so easily? Who even has built this structure? So anyway, upon reaching the outside, Buzz is able to get out of there and find a way to turn on the mobile. It turns on and the alien can escape. It's kinda strange really. How exactly will they reach it is beyond me. But who cares? The next part is up. This level is as good as it can be, and I applaud the devs for this. I can also appreciate how these toys are in the real human world and not in the miniature one. I always been a sucker for this kind of level design. It's the same for towns and cities or forests. When levels in games have obstacles related to the theme at hand and make the environment the enemy, sure, doesn't feel as actiony as it could. But of course there are signs of action at this point. In this vent, Buzz will be moving at a constant pace, that being possible by gliding on electric wires, swinging on copper bars and ending with a burst of speed through a wind tunnel, with the wings being rather useful. The speed is perfect, and once again the soundtrack complements this segment perfectly. Then it's swinging again on the ceiling from lamps. This is once again is a perfectly paced segment. Just mash the X button and getting all over it is as easy as pie. But of course the fire alarm goes off, hanging onto it. But it never happens, thankfully, although it would be an interesting twist. Now the cassette plays music and Rex can escape. On to the next segment. Now it's time to insert a cassette tape into the audio player to play a song to save Rex. Despite the somewhat repetitive structure as you've seen up to this point, I can at least give credit for the game devs for coming up with different objectives for the same end goal, getting to point B to whatever. Sure, traveling through the vents does become a bit repetitive, and it's the only way to travel around the level, but it never really feels drawn out. The toy crane is up next, with this part all about finding 4 batteries to make it move. This is the first part of this level on ground level, which in turn makes it sound way more difficult, right? Well, not really. The vision from these kids is as bad as pie, despite you being on the floor. One unique thing is how in this one area, you don't go through vents, which is mind-blowing to say the least. You might think you will be spotted for breaking jars. There needs to be some sort of suspicious disbelief here. Not everything have to make sense to be fun. Now, despite most of this game containing pretty mundane action, it still ends up working well as a tool to make gameplay engaging, thanks in part to how atmospheric it all is. It could have been as boring as cleaning socks, which is it really not. You know, forget what I said about being on the ground the whole time. You do go up, only for a short while until a battery has been found. Then the other 3 which are located on the drawer, on the floor and elsewhere. After that said and done, the level is complete. Let's move on to level 6, which is all about Woody. While all of the commotion happens here, Woody is going to leave Sunnyside Daycare. First, he needs to reach a window located in the bathroom where the cleaner is mopping the floor. That triggers a stealth mission. This is not very difficult to complete, quite easy, and this one isn't different from the rest. I've pretty much tackled every gameplay style at this point. It's pretty much like the Simpsons intro run, with a handful of missions to complete. While it may seem kind of easy, I don't really think it subtracts much from the overall experience. Too many gameplay styles would be way too much for this simple game. The aesthetic outside is gorgeous. I just fall in love with all of the colors, accompanying that with an urban roof style and get one of the best levels of this entire game, purely for the aesthetic. But of course, there's a dark secret not discovered by anyone. What's down in the black void below? No one has ever seen it and no one wants to find out. It's so satisfactory to grab onto pipes, tubes, glide onto lower levels, just a pleasure to see. The next bit about gliding down to a lower level with a kite. You don't have to do anything, just get to it and Woody will use it without hesitation. But the level is not done, mind you. The last few inches involves platforming to the other side. Not a problem at all. A problem is that Woody crashes down somewhere and he's then grabbed by Bonnie and is taken to her house. Next level. Back at Sunnyside, and for some reason, off screen I guess, Lotso is acting strange, so Buzz will find him so he can take the other toys to the butterfly room. And yeah, by the way, speaking of Lotso, this is the only time he is ever seen in-game. Even though most of us has not really been talking about it, I think it's about time that I did. The other toys in this game are useless. The only thing that you're doing is to rescue them. Sure, Rex narrates at the beginning of each level in Bonnie's room. However, that's the only thing that he does. None of the other toys do anything at all. Which is kind of sad, because the other toys were at least useful in the second film. They did have something worth doing. But the only thing that they do is just end up being like objectives to complete or a motivation. Sure, motivation is never bad, but that doesn't mean that the toys can't do anything. I'd even argue they're a bit more useful in the second game. Sure, you have to deliver things to them, but at least you're actually getting something worth using, at least from Potato Head. You could use Ham for like springing up to other ledges, you could use Slinky to maybe slingshot yourself to higher locations. There are plenty of possibilities that the other toys could have had if they were actually implemented. Hell, they don't really appear on many of the levels. They never really have any sort of speaking role, I don't think. Do you see what I mean? He went through all of this as a big bear with a cane. So did the rest of his henchmen. How? Did he even resist the steam coming out of those pipes? Well, let's assume since he is the boss of this daycare, he probably knows some secret exits or methods to get around that we don't really know about. Who knows, maybe there's like a shortcut or maybe a different entrance. You know, speaking of other things not being explained, what is the point of so many toys in the Toy Story universe? Plenty of them live, and plenty of them doesn't live. What's the logic behind this? It's the same thing with anthropomorphic animals in this universe like Zootopia that have pets. Why? When did this happen? It's never explained at any point in any of these. There's probably like some deep, dark meaning behind it, but it has never really been explained and most likely never will. These building blocks don't live, and this dollhouse doesn't. But Rex and the aliens, Buzz Lightyear and Woody are all alive. These RC cars isn't really alive either. Well, only RC, but neither do these small metallic cars or this track. But of course, if they were to overdo it, it will most likely just be considered creepy or just way too much. So that's probably the reason why. So anyway, now we enter the bit of this game which should be really interesting, like Mission Impossible-esque. Because now we're going to avoid searchlights to reach our end goal. You would expect that there should be some like spy-esque music or something hyper, maybe a bit more adrenaline pumping, but no, the same jolly old soundtrack is playing over and over and over again. Sure, it's a pleasant soundtrack to listen to, but like I said before, it works well and like an elevator for instance, not the part when it's supposed to be amping up. After all, it is an exciting and thrilling moment waiting ahead. It's about time to play as Woody again, as he's going to leave Bonnie's home after being taken there. So let's mess up her home, because why not? Design-wise, this is one of my favorite levels of the entire game. It's set within the walls, although it looks like the end of the world outside. From Bonnie's room, and it's the only level set in Sunset. The end goal is to get to a PC in a different room. So let's begin this hunt. The main part is to find batteries again, well for this section, to turn on the radio so the door opens up, letting Woody escape. Getting them is not going to be a hard task since you are shown the locations as the level starts. Of course, why focus on the main task when detouring is a much more fun idea. The bonus collectibles are tubes of paint, just smush them all. Bonnie will have a hard time trying to explain this to her mother. Who even placed these wooden blocks in this world? Did Al make them? Is Ender responsible? Who knows? Although I think we should eventually get things back on track by focus on the actual mission, which is all about climbing across the room. While I said knowing where the batteries are doesn't mean there's no challenge at all. Getting them can be a challenge without the critical eye, although there's always a lead to follow. Up in the ceiling we go in a mobile. Don't know why it's still up there. Isn't it a bit too high for anyone to reach? And who lets a 4-year-old keep one of these around? I wonder if there's something sad that we don't know about. The rest of the batteries weren't hard to get, once you see the direction that is. The radio turns on, so Bob and his mom enters the room to turn it on, and that gives Woody the opportunity to leave. Then some more vents. This one involves a lot of electricity puzzles. You have to move some of these boxes around to turn on some of the switches, which will then let you progress forward. At least it's something original for being this part of this game. While not necessarily difficult, it's kinda tedious with a lot of backtracking. I would say it's annoying, but at least something different. Then it's more pull string action before we're finally outside and the final stretch as well as the first level in darkness.
Ooh! This part is perfect to bring out the perfect question. Where during the calendar year is this level set? Ooh!
I would say April.
No, it's actually not. The solution is easy to find. It's about going to the second film in Andy's room, right here. The calendar on the wall says August. Sure, not a date, but we have a baseline. But of course, what date? What week? Well, let's think about it. Because school tends to start at the third week, right? Week 1 or 2 is a bit too early, since that's when most of the employees comes back from vacation, and everything needs to be set up. I would put my money on the third week, since Andy's going to college, and the term beginning in April would be logical. So there we have it. No, it's actually not. The solution is easy to find. It's about going to the second film in Andy's room, right?
Into the kitchen as the last part happens. Slide a box to a PC. But why though? There's a share right there. Just hold it and pull it out. I guess it's the justification for gameplay to happen. Okay, it's done. Let's continue with level 9. Who now returns to Sunnyside to help the others. Alright, level 9. Let's move on from a light, friendly neighborhood to a grey, well-lit ventilation system, with the final goal to get into the daycare. But before it's reached, Woody has to get up there from the floor, the only time you start off at the floor before getting up to higher levels. Slinky plays an important role for once, as he helps Woody to get to the main point of interest. After getting up there and swinging on strings, getting on a chair, the true level can begin. But what's a cowboy without his hat? Nothing. So, every level has had a gimmick to make it stand out. This one makes you turn on and off the fans to get around. It's obvious the programmer doesn't want you to get to the lower level, and it is nothing but white. But dropping down that doesn't work. It just respawns you right from where you dropped. So you are left to your own devices. The game doesn't give you any directions at all. You have to figure out where to go. Not too difficult, but I like it regardless. I just like the use of colors. It really does set the mood for the adventures up ahead, like a spy thriller. So it's a bunch of climbing up ladders and jump on knobs across to find the switches needed to turn the fans on and off. The programmers attempted to make it seem like Slinky was helping you out at first, but after he was gone to the other sections, the fans turns on again and nothing can help you. Good job, Slink. The adversaries around are electric spaces, steam, and a hot blaze, and if you walk into them you get knocked back. But in the end, these obstacles have zero consequences, as there's no health bar. The only way they are a threat is for speedrunners, and if so, fair enough. However, since this has a low age rating, I guess it's okay. Sadly, I'm not the biggest fan of this section, so let's just finish it. With some more climbing and swinging, both sections are over, but that doesn't mean the level is over. There's plenty of more to do, like going through a maze through a bird's eye view. I don't really know what the point of this idea even was. It's not as if there are enemies who are going to stop you. Did you just want to create a concept or more challenging gameplay by limiting the view? Once again, it's just the environment, which I've been praising before, but I would for once just question why they don't have more to offer in terms of enemies. There is no reason not to include them. The game does try to trick you into the other parts of the maze by showing other paths which only leads to more blocks. But there's more. More searchlights, and Slink is able to pass right through all without a hassle. Why did he even appear in this level to begin with? The one thing he did was to lift Woody up. Then he didn't do anything besides give the illusion he's part of the level. The searchlight, like before, can be easily avoided, but still keep an eye on them. But much like always, being caught doesn't mean anything. On to level 10. Finally, a different gameplay style. Remember the scene when Buzz became Zurg's second-hand man? Of course you did, if you watched the movie. It's explained on this level what happened to Buzz, but not shown. It's Jessie's time to shine. It's all about her setting her friends free out of these prisons. Of course, Buzz is kept out of the pictures, hence he's inside of a box. And it repeats the same animation over and over again with him trying to melt it. Dude, nothing's gonna happen. Why isn't Buzz actually snapping out of it at this point? It did happen in the original film.
This is certainly a stubborn Buzz he got here. Is it even the original? Maybe the original Buzz left after the second film at some point, and this Buzz replaced him. That may be it. Maybe a newer version. Maybe the version of Buzz in the second film. Who knows? I certainly don't. This is certainly a stubborn Buzz he got here.
So, this is the only level set during a rainstorm at nighttime, with Jessie as the only playable character this time. Her mission is to locate keys to open up all of the locks. They're all color-coded so you can tell where they fit. Now, you may think this is difficult since security is patrolling this acre, but it's just as easy as the other levels. The only catch, if you walk within the red spotlight, then you're caught. This is yet another free roamer, as the other trucks aren't really that much about really searching about. What really sets this level apart are how the obstacles are placed. I got to say, it's actually not that bad. Sure, there are the ones that are really easy to get, like this one on the table. But when I say it, I mean it. It never amps up in difficulty. It's about where you are going and how to traverse it. It's just a straightforward level. Nothing is going to challenge you. There are no dangerous enemies to speak of. Just a sweet soundtrack with a few secrets here and there. Sure, you have to turn off the security cameras at certain points, but they don't really do anything. This might turn some people off this game. Why even play a game with almost no adversaries? Well, some of us prefer that. It's really like playing Minecraft on peaceful, just you and the world around. Eventually, all of the toys are there for safe, and level 10 is done. It's really the home stretch now, the final few levels before the story is complete. Do you remember the rescue mission from a while ago when Buzz saved the toys? That concept is now returned in this garbage dump level. Off screen they have all escaped and the daycare without Lotso. Wow, he really pushed out on this one. Anyway, now it's race to the finish. They are about to be killed by this machinery. So, as the free toy Buzz is, here got metallic objects to give to the other toys there so they can be thrown up into the ceiling. It's just a bit weird. Buzz grabs an object really early and yet he doesn't go up. Is he like the master of magnets? It only carries him up at the end. Can he just render these magnets useless? There are so many questions that I have at this very moment. This would be the perfect time to include a timer, a race to the finish to save them all. But it's just a standard level, just get to the end while on the way saving the toys. Man, they really got the short end of the stick. No one of them has done anything worth caring for except for the playable character. Why are they all useless in the 3D Toy Story games? But none of these toys has to be rescued in any more serious manner than this. They are as difficult to save as all the way through. Do I think it's a bad idea? No, but I hope for something difficult for this really intense level. All the assets are there to make it superior to the rest. I've just realized something during this review. There are a lot of details being skipped over. This villain is very rarely seen. A lot of the most iconic moments are not shown. Not even Bonnie shows up. Lotso is the only one seen for a few seconds in game. This is like the situation of Lego Star Wars a video game in episode 3, where there are a lot of the story beats of episode 3 which are not really shown to an extent. At first I thought it was because this was released before the movie came out. You know, the game developers probably didn't want to spoil much of our directions to not do so from Disney. But no, it turns out that this game actually came out months after the game was released. Well, it could be because the game was maybe developed after the film was finished, just an afterthought. But fun fact, this game was actually released as a part of a PS2 bundle. And if you go into Amazon, you can actually buy it right now if you like to. It was even released on PSP, although it's possible that it wasn't shown to be released in North America. Well, whatever you do, don't get that version. Despite it being Toy Story 3 on the go, it just has a minor graphical downgrade. But it has a lot of DLC which can only be downloaded from the PlayStation Store. However, the PlayStation Store on PSP doesn't exist anymore, since it was shut down a couple of years or weeks or months ago. So yeah, that makes the PSP version obsolete versus the PS2 version which has everything included. But of course, there's always an audience for PSP versions. And if you're one of them, then go ahead. You're always moving forward with the badass music present, which really gives you a feeling of a grand adventure, although it doesn't really show why the trash objects are going down or what happens to them. You know, it's supposed to be shown on the conveyor belt. Everything is done. They're all safe and the level is over. It's time to end this game with the last what's this? There's one more level before the end with the aliens. Where did they come from? Are they going to do anything? I guess the devs wasn't allowed to show the incinerator bit at all. But what will they do? Well, solve a puzzle of course. Remember the aliens we all remember from the movie? Remember when we met them for the very first time? Yeah, neither do I, but here they are. It is a very weird level. You expected on a stretch of the story to be another action-packed level. Well, not really. The main toys are about to be incinerated and this makes this level the perfect one to do. Well, that's what the devs thought. It's a puzzle level. Traverse through several puzzles to get to the control panel or lift the toys up safely. The achievement is granted. You can finish this level with the fewest amount of switching to the different aliens. Why though? Why make it an achievement? It is the first time. I would love to see this as a time trial after beating the game first. Well, I'll tell you this. From the previous level, which was very serious, just hearing Toy Story Sunday music with a lot of woohoo really makes me wish the cutscene where the aliens saved them instead of this entire level. It may seem like I hate this level because of the tonal shift, but I don't dislike it for that. I dislike it because this was something that haven't been used before. This is the very first a dedicated puzzle level actually happens. But if you're just looking at this level as it is, does it work as a puzzle? Yeah, it does. It's actually a clever one. On every road there's a certain puzzle that needs to be solved by switching aliens. The puzzle isn't childish simple puzzles. It does give you a reason to push the boundaries of your mind. Okay, they don't really push you to the edge of your mind so you get a headache. However, they aren't really just childish, like fun and games, like I said. There's some thought behind plenty of them. Now, it's all really based on looking ahead and then determine what you will have to do in order for what's ahead to actually be as effective as possible. Like for instance, there are the steam barriers. Just rotate these knobs and they will open up. Of course, this had to be done at several other points with these knobs. So it's not like one and then you can pass through immediately. It will happen more times than one. But of course there are the steam puzzles which pushes you up in the air, which then it's gonna make you push the analog stick forward and you can traverse through these big boxes, these big box obstacles. There is like spinning discs in this dirt, and so one of the aliens on one side really needs to stand wherever they are and allow them to be spinning around. And only when they are spinning around like this, you can actually traverse to the other side. These aliens actually do serve a purpose in the narrative of this game, because let's be real, despite it being a pretty unique spin, if the different ending were to happen, I think you know which one I'm talking about, the aliens appearing really did make that scene really work out, as well as making a pretty interesting level. As a level from the previous one, it's horrendous as a level, but I could see this as a bonus level in the extras. It works as a standalone level, but it's out of place so compared to the rest. I could see it belonging in a Toy Story themed puzzle game, not as the main level in a platform with some action thrown in between. So let's just move on to the last level of the game. Alright, the toys have now escaped the incinerator and they will all now head back home to end this entire game. You think it's a cutscene shown off at home, but no, there is room for one last boss there, which didn't even happen in the movie, and oh my god, what a send-off to a game. I mean, this is the best level in the entire game, but logistically it makes absolutely no sense at all. Well, basically what happened, they were all in the garbage truck, I guess, and for some way, somehow, Buzz fell out of it and fell back so long backwards. You'd even imagine that he would simply just give up and accept that he will never make it back home. But thankfully that doesn't happen. And don't worry, the garbage truck doesn't speed up. So the core idea behind this level is that Buzz is now going to jump on cars and climb on top of them to jump to other cars. A pretty genius level design, I must say, and that is why this level works so well as a final send-off. It really does use the human attributes to create obstacles, which is not really any problem to humans, but a big problem to toys. As a game exclusive, it really does make up after the previous one. The music is really fitting, very actiony and exciting. The speed of the level shows with the cars being blurry ahead with timing based jumps. It's also cool to get into the sound of the vehicles and see Buzz's night vision in motion. A nice touch indeed. You need to go onto an RV underneath a truck, avoid the logs falling down, jump on a pizza delivery scooter, the whole 9 yards. The length of the level works as well as you think for what it has in store. It is a real blast to play through with perfect balance, the perfect feeling of progression, perfect everything. Alright, jump from the logs and get up on this ladder to the top of that car, and then jump over to the next one. Absolutely no sound effects are heard in the slightest. But yeah, it makes sense that none of the actual drivers here seen run. Why is this pizza scooter just driving back and forth? There is an open lane, dude. You can just drive on it so you can deliver the pizza in time. Fun fact, did you know that that guy driving on the scooter, he also happens to be Sid Phillips from the very first Toy Story film. This family right ahead of us is extremely clumsy. You want to know why? Because he has only attached one of the boards, that really wide one. But the long one, isn't that the most dangerous? Just a tiny bit more speed and it can really cause a big traffic disaster. What about this trike right here? Why are the handles on the side? Aren't they supposed to be in front where the door is? Why is it on the side like this? But wait, It's just sitting on the side. Does this mean that this store is just placed to be delivered somewhere else? Or is this one of the weirdest ways to actually build a truck? Just to have a trailer and then just have a door on the side? You know, this level has got me wondering about something. Why are all of the trucks and all of the cars and everything in between just driving on a specifically designed pattern? It's almost as if it's meant to be an obstacle course. Do these people knows the toys are alive and they're aligning themselves perfectly so that they can let them traverse? Or is it just a complete coincidence? Is there really any point anymore, if that is the case, to stay hidden from people if they actually know that toys are actually alive? Is it even possible to pretend that none of this is actually real? It's not often the last level is, but this is really the case. The best level in the entire game. So, Buzz finally makes it to the truck and the main story is finished. Yeah, there's more content, but let's just wrap this thing up. Well done, Asobo Studios. I'm proud of you. All of the toys are safe, and that's how we ended up at Bonus. Off screen, of course. Her name was written in a moving box and then delivered to her, thus ending the game. Overall, despite how repeatable it was at certain points, I really enjoyed my time with it. The level design really worked. Just being a toy in the humorous world just gave a very special meaning to the concept of fitting level design. While a few duds were on the way, such as how many events there were, it worked, of course. If you expect a slightly downgraded PS3 version, then you will be severely disappointed. But if you like atmospheric music with very fitting level design and toys, I really recommend this one. Thank you so much for watching!